Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad, this is my channel Animate Orange, and welcome to another Metal Earth build. Today on the table we have the D-0 droid from the new Star Wars Rise of Skywalker movies. This is the new droid that they've come out with. I've not yet seen the movie as it is not out yet as of this build, but today we're going to tackle this guy. Looks like it's going to be a fairly easy build, but let's go over to the table, open it up, see what's inside, and put this thing together. Let's open up D-0, see what I'm getting myself into. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a very complex model, but we have one metal sheet, one colorful metal sheet, and one piece of paper for the instructions. So let's open this up. I'm going to go over the instructions somewhat briefly in case you are new to building these models. If we open this all the way up, you see on the first page we have, starting off, Star Wars and Metal Earth logos, line drawing of the model, and one of the sheets, or the only sheet actually. 360 view, you've got a QR code and a website you can go to here if you want to see a completed model that you can move around on the screen for reference sake. Below that we have a sample part with the notation about insertion tabs, fold lines, and insertion holes. Basically, insertion tabs go into holes to hold this thing together. Fold lines are pre-scored areas where you bend and fold the part. We have a legend here, which is kind of complex, but then again not. E is pointing, when you see that E, the arrow is pointing at an engraved or colored side of the model. NE is a non-engraved or non-colored side of the model. Basically, the detailed side you want showing versus the non-detailed side you don't really want showing. Intention point, if you see that, it usually has to do with making sure something aligns a certain way. Occasionally there'll be text explaining why there's an intention point there, but it usually has to do with alignment. Blue circle and green triangle, these have been around since the start of these models. Blue circle, when you see that beside a connection point, it means to insert a tab in its slot, fold it over 90 degrees. Green triangle means to insert the tab and twist it 90 degrees for a secure connection. Assembly tip, if needed, slightly twist tabs to hold the parts together, then untwist and bend them down for a nice finish. Something that I've been recommending for a while now. Oh, and by the way, at the very bottom of the page you see an outline of the sheets, or the part sheet. And it has numbers pointing at all the parts, so you can find them on the sheet, clip them out, and use them. You'll also notice that some of the parts are colored in, like the green here, some smaller pieces colored in. A lot of the parts are not colored in. The pieces that are colored in, like these two yellow, are the same part. They're duplicates, so they're probably used in more than one place. This one is labeled 20. This one doesn't have a label. They're both 20. Green here and green here. One of them is labeled 9. This is also part 9. Saves a lot of trouble when it comes to finding parts. Slide over to page 2 and we start the assembly flowchart with part 1, and it's kind of indicating, the red here is indicating things fold, and I guess the yellow is also too. The yellow is kind of new, but I suppose these are trying to indicate how something folds. And it took me a second of looking at it closely to kind of figure it out. What it's showing is that these kind of fold around in sort of a box shape. You can see the arrow, the blue line and arrow showing that the yellow part forms a box, and then here the red part forms a box, but they don't form the same box, which is why I'm assuming they've colored them differently. Over here we've got part 2, curves into a circle, connects here. Part 3, circle connects here with folded over tabs, indicated by the blue circle. Slide over here, there's a red section indicating that these parts fold and curve slightly. And then slide over here, we've got part 4 which attaches, and part 5 which attaches, and then slide over here, part 5, the sides fold up and curve around, and you end up with that part. And that's the gist of it. You just follow the arrows and the part numbers and adding the parts, following little sub-assemblies, and just adding things together throughout the instructions. Of course, when you get to the bottom of this page, we flip to the inside for page 3. And interestingly enough, it does not appear that these are labeled, but it's not hard to figure out. And what would be page 4 over here, you get to the bottom, you are finished with your model. Let's talk a little bit about tools. The very basics of what you're going to need is a pair of tweezers and some clippers. The tweezers, you can do a lot of bending, shaping, twisting of tabs, folding of things over. The clippers are going to help you get the pieces out of the sheets cleanly and easily by clipping them out instead of trying to bend them out, which can cause damage. I've also supplemented my set with some precision tweezers. I have a couple of pointed ones here. One, I ground the tip down just a little bit to give it a more sturdy tip for tabs and twisting things, and then I have a precision flat set, and between all of these I can do a lot of bending and shaping and twisting. I also strongly recommend some sort of pliers to complement your set. I have some flat nose here that have definite uses. I have some long needle nose pliers for some of the longer pieces, and then I have some curved tips for grabbing things at an angle and bending them over. For shaping a lot of curves and dome shapes and whatnot, you'll see me use an array of 3D printed tools that I've designed that you can find on my Etsy if you're interested. Otherwise, you'll also see me pull out a cheap drill bit set that I have that's not sharp for shaping cylinder shapes, or just look around your house and use objects that you find like dowel rods, pencils, maybe some beads to shape certain things. We've talked a little bit about tools. I've got my basics to get me started, the instructions here at the ready, and our metal sheet. Let's start putting this thing together. I decided to use a slightly modified technique I've talked about in several recent videos to shape the long box-like shape here. I put a slight bend in the middle joint and a 90-degree bend on each end of the two end joints. Then I pinched the two outer corners together, causing the middle to fold in, making that box shape. I was worried that this method would fail in this situation, but it worked well. I had to make a slight correction at one end, but I'm very happy with the result. The two end pieces were a lot easier to manipulate. To bend these tabs over, I pinched them together with tweezers. One tab folded in, making the connection more stable and allowing me to bend over the other tab without worry of the part falling out.
I formed the curve by bending the sides a little at a time with the tip of the tweezers. I initially tried to put part 7 on upside down and couldn't figure out why it didn't fit. Seems the tabs are offset, so only fits one way, and that's good that they did that. The instructions indicate to fold these tabs over, but for me, I feel better with them twisted, and another, I'm pretty sure there is going to be enough room inside the wheel. I had to move the metal strip from the previous part out of the way to get the leg-like assemblies in place, but that's okay as this part is bent around later to simulate a wire. You are supposed to line this metal strip or wire up behind another part and carefully curve the two short strips around to hold them together. As you can see, I used a large medicine bottle to shape this part. Be sure to line this up properly. The mounting tabs need to be on the bottom. There are a lot of tiny pieces on the back side of Dio's head. Some of them are a little challenging to line up and attach. As always, it's a good idea to fold angled out tabs so that they point straight to the next connection. These little antennae were fun. The instructions indicate to keep them pointed out, but that's just not what happened. I kept hitting them as I was handling the assembly and attaching other parts. I just let it be until later, when I didn't have to handle this part so much, and straightened out all the antennae. I had to clear the hole and push a neighboring part aside to get this antenna on. The antennae are a mess, but like I said, I will soon fix that. Now to run these wires together and into the underside of the head. I didn't get it exactly like the instructions, but I like the way it looks. And that's it. An hour and a half later, we are done with this build. So overall, it was a pretty quick and simple build, with a lot of the newer Metal Earth models coming out being 3+ hours build. This one's a pretty easy one. But the review for it will be coming up very soon. I'll leave it at that. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Thank you for watching. As always, keep on keeping on.